Hello, listener. Just a quick editor's note ahead of the episode. Um, in the last quarter of the episode, my audio device changed on the Zoom call from my microphone to my headphones, so it sounds a little bit muffled, so sorry about that. But otherwise, enjoy the episode ahead. Victoria is an awesome person to talk to, and I'm excited to listen to it myself. Welcome back to the W Basketball Show. I'm your host, Lucas, joined this week by Victoria Denholm. Victoria, how are you today?
Well, thank you, Lucas. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, thanks for coming on. You are calling in from Sydney. I am calling in from Victoria. Sorry, I had to do that. What does Sydney have to offer today?
Yeah, I mean, it's hoops capital. It is the hoops capital of basketball. But I have no knocks against Victoria. It is my namesake. I am named after the state, having been born there. So I have a lot of love for both places and don't necessarily buy into the Sydney-Melbourne rivalry unless it's on the basketball court.
Okay, cool, cool. Is that true? You were named after the state of Victoria.
It sure was.
Okay, I hope we're doing you proud. How have you gone in this first third of the WNBL season? How are you enjoying the Flames? How are you enjoying the WNBL more generally?
Yeah, I mean the on-court performance across the league, I think, is there's a lot of talent in this league, a lot of new young faces that are lighting the league up, which is really exciting. I think if you'd asked me before last night, I would have been like, the Flames are on a roll. We won three in a row, and then last night was a little bit of a challenge. I think, we had some pretty key injuries and not as much depth and especially size. And I think going against a team like Townsville without size is always a bit tough, but I'm really excited. I mean, again, I talked about, the young faces in the league. Shanice Swain is just lighting it on fire, right? Like she's just incredible. We were super excited to sign her last year and then she was injured. And so having her back this year and in top form, I think, has been a joy to watch. She has been playing out of position, though. I'm sure you've noticed her bringing up the ball and playing a little bit of point guard, which I don't think is her preferred position, but we're excitingly bringing in Talea to Paya. I'm sure I've just butchered her name, but incredible Sydney local talent who's just finished up in New Zealand. So she'll be joining us imminently, and I think the girls will breathe a sigh of relief having a true point guard on the floor.
Yeah, another playmaker. Yeah, I got to see Shanice Swain in person a couple of weeks ago, and if you read a box score, she looks like a star, but there's just a value you can't see on TV that you can see in person where she's just like gliding around the court and she just gets to positions that other players can't off a screen, off a Kayla George screen, that's even more deadly. And yeah, I'd say that the league this year has really developed on what it was last year. I feel like there was a massive like changing of faces and changing of scenery last year. But like each team's identity has really come out this year. I feel like even more. I feel like you at the Flames, you have a lot of finesse. I feel like Southside have that physicality and they always have. And Townsville is just, it's been 40,000 years since they were bad at basketball. Um, and yeah, you just go down the list. But yeah, it's been a
We haven't
great
even
product.
mentioned Bendigo. Like,
And they are all Perth.
yeah, like yeah, it is a very competitive season. I mean, I think we say that every year, but
Mm,
no game is a gimme this year. Like
mm,
every game, you have to come out and play your best basketball, or there's 20-point swings in games, right? Even
yeah.
the Townsville Bendigo game, right? Like you thought Bendigo had put it away, and then Townsville fight back, and it's a close game, and you can't discount the competitiveness of the talent on the court, and especially a lot of these young faces that are just hungry for it. I think even on
Mm,
the Flames game last night, right? Like it would have been easy to roll over and we came out and we're down, I think 20 in the first quarter. Like it would have been easy for us to just call it a day. And yet you have players like Carla Pittman who will just not stop running. Like, yeah, I
mm.
don't know if you've watched her on the court, but she just like it's tiring watching her because she is nonstop, right? Like it gives a lot of energy to a lot of the other players on the court. And I think that's true. Every team has those players that just are relentless.
Yeah, I feel like I hope I'm not misremembering this, but was it her? I can't remember who it was. I remember going to SBC and watching Southside host Sydney. Someone was hounding Maddie Rochi all game, and Rochi loves nothing more than like a cut lip or like taking a charge or something. And like as frustrated as they were getting with each other, every single dead ball, it was like a high five or like a like keep it up or something. And
But yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and the competition was just yeah, it was just great to watch. Um, and yeah, we've touched on a few of the teams so far. Um, you and Walemi Capital Group Syndicate. I'm pronouncing Walemi correctly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, am I sorry?
that's
Um,
okay.
you're moving into a kind of WNBL ownership, and there's a changing of licensing and a changing of the guard there for you. I guess just first of all, how are you feeling about that? Because that's huge.
It is. And it's very hard, I think, to keep perspective on how incredible and how excited I am, and the investment that this league is getting, uh, while also working really hard to deliver on all the things that need to be done for us to get this season up and running next
Mm,
year. And so, there's those kind of two conflating pieces of the equation, but I'm very excited and we're working with the NBL, which I think is just going to be so incredible for the WNBL. They obviously have a lot of experience in running a league, and if you've looked at the growth of the NBL over the last 5 years, I'm very excited to tap into that
mm,
huge resource and skill set and what they're doing, but also very excited to kind of tap into the global world of women's basketball as well. I think it's kind of there's a lot of the right conditions both from a macro perspective and a micro perspective that
mhm,
I think hopefully sitting here 12 18 months from now
mm,
we'll look back and be like, wow, this really was the kind of rocket ship moment. And we've just spent so long talking about the incredible on-court talent, and
mm,
I think that's the really exciting thing is this league from a talent perspective has had some incredible players. I even, anecdotally, the Golden State Valkyries just had their expansion draft, and I think 5 of their 11 players have played in the WNBL. Like they could pick any players in the league, and 5 of them
yeah,
have played here. Like that, I think is a really big testament to the quality of talent that have come through this league, both Australian talent as well as imports and US talent. But I think the things around it, having been with the Flames and just, the things that I think are low hanging fruit from an investment perspective, I'm really excited. And I think just like getting more people to experience and, love the WNBL is what I'm like very excited for. I think we've seen that genesis with women's sports, and we've seen the narrative shift, and we've seen, boys and girls of all ages getting behind female athletes. And I'm just excited to like rocket fuel that in basketball. Because I mean, I know it. I'm sure a lot of the listeners to this podcast know it. There are some incredible players uh, in the WNBL, and I'm excited for more people to know that they exist.
definitely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's the gold star of potentially sport in Australia is women's basketball. Forever we've been good. Like there's never been a dull moment. There's never been a lull. We had this player who won number 25 named Lauren, and she was one
Yeah,
of the best players in the world. And there's been no dip since she was retired a few times over the last few years. But it's just always been such a strong product.
yeah,
Um, and ending we expect the team to end up on the podium. I think a lot of Australian sports, it's like, oh, can we make it to the podium? Can we make it to the podium? But it's like with the Opals, it's like, what color are we going to end up with at the next
yeah.
Olympics or the next World Championship or something? Um, and yeah, it's just such an exciting time because you bring in or hope to attract more talent. But even if you don't, and you can just get more eyes on the league, we'll see what this. I feel like people will view it as a hidden gem, but it's been there and it's been an incredible product for years. Um,
Yeah, the thing
is
I keep hearing is that it's the best kept secret in sports. And you know what you don't want to be when you're an entertainment product in a sport is a secret.
Yeah.
And so it very much is just, hey, let's let everyone know that we're here and we've been here and we will continue to be here.
Yeah. How is it for you and the team at Hoops Capital? How is it going to be navigating? WNBL ownership and administration and management and the Sydney Flames as well.
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be a separation of club and league, and I know there's precedence of it with the NBL, but we are, if anything, we're very aware of governance and conflicts of interest. So I have stepped back my role from a club perspective at the end of the season. So the syndicate won't take over ownership of the WNBL until April is kind of the target close date, without
Mhm.
going into all the legals and transactions. But at that point of time, I will definitely, step back and focus on the league and that side of things. And the Hoops Capital team, I'm sure, will continue to do an incredible job with the Flames. But they will be, one of 8 teams in the league, and there will be plenty of governance and structures in place to ensure that there's no conflict or perceived
Mm,
conflict or of any of those things. And as much as I've loved my time with the Flames and love that club, I think the opportunity and the ability to grow the whole league, the Flames will benefit. But
mm.
I think the power is just too big of an opportunity to miss the moment, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So fair enough. Moving into that space, what excites you the most about where the league has been heading? And what excites you the most about being able to have a say in where it's going to go next?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think what excites me about where it's going is all of the metrics, the league is growing. There is, a buzz around it. To me, it's really just pouring fuel on that fire, and a big part of that fuel is capital. I think
Mm,
BA has done a great job in being kind of the custodians of the league and ensuring that female basketball players in this country have a professional league to play in and a very high standard of play. But they're just not resourced to be able to commit the level of capital that private investors
mm,
can put in. And like you've seen with the NBL, like capital can grow things quicker. It's one
mm,
of the benefits of investment. So I think from my perspective, it's really the exciting thing is the things that we've talked about, the talent and the on-court product, and then raising the standards across the league beyond that, right? Like again, I'm biased having Flames and Kings views, right? Like you see what the Kings have, and we make sure that our Flames have that. But like the teams in the WNBL that don't have that context don't necessarily have that, right? So I know the Flames 3 years ago were the first WNBL team to have Catapult, and there are other teams that use it now, right? But just elevating those standards, both for the athletes, but for the fans and from an engagement perspective, I think is really exciting. Things like broadcast and where it is and how you can reach it and who's watching it and all of those things I think are really exciting. For me, having a say in that direction is incredible, but I am, one of a plethora of people
mm.
and a team of people, and we've just announced the new future CEO of the WNBL, and I think that she has an incredible, perspective. She, played collegiate basketball at Loyola. She has 3 kids that play association basketball. Like she very much has a love for basketball, but she's built her career in platforms and media and broadcast, and so I think those are the things that we're going to see elevate very quickly. And again, capital is a big part of that, but I think, audience and reach and engagement are also a very big part of that.
Yeah, for sure. That has reminded me of one of my questions. So sorry, listener and Victoria, if this sounds like I'm reading, but I just want to get the wording of this right. With that, putting resources into the league, who and what are you following, and who and what are you trying to avoid? And how much of that is based on historical success, and how much is innovation?
That's a very long question, and
Yeah,
I'll, I'll
sorry.
I'll unpack it a little bit. From a following perspective, I'd be lying if I said we weren't looking at the WNBA. I think, the rocket ship of growth that they've been on in the last, 18, 12 months even, has been incredible. And whether or not you believe it's one player or beyond one player or the right combination of a player and the media and commercial and all of these ingredients, the truth probably somewhere in the middle, right? And so trying to replicate and tap into that, I think is really an opportunity. Again, you look at the men's leagues historically, right? Like the NBA kind of had that moment first with Magic and Larry, and then MJ, and then all of the stars that followed. But that's not to discount all the people that were in the league before then. And I think the WNBA is having that moment now. And obviously, the exciting thing is all the incredible talent that's about to come out of the college system as well. So it's Caitlin Clark, but it's also going to be Paige, and it's going to be Juju, and it's going to be Hannah, and it's going to be all of these incredible players coming beyond that. And I think for the WNBL, that is also true, right? Like we have incredible talent and players that have been in the league for a long time. Kayla George has been in the league for, I think it's 17 years. But then we have, the Shanice Swains, the Izzy Borlases, the Jade Melbournes, who are like up and coming, and well, I guess Jade is probably more established than up and
Mm.
coming at this point. But they're young. They're 20, 21 years old, and they have that fire. And I think the pipeline of Australian talent is incredible. Like we have Bonnie Diaz on our team, and she is just a rock star. And I think there's like a crop of 17, 16, 15-year-olds that are also just as hungry and seeing what's happening in the WNBA and will get better at building their own brand and profile and things. So that for me is really exciting. I think, the player driven growth that we're seeing in some of the other leagues and how can we kind of unlock some of that, I think is really important. The thing that I am really excited about, and I think the really big opportunity is the kind of commercial and corporate support in Australia for basketball. I think the Matildas, after their World Cup and the reports they put out about like the ROI of commercial investment into that event and into that brand was just like insane. It was like
Mm.
170% ROI on marketing spend. Like that doesn't exist, right? And so again, can we get to that level? Maybe, but can we get to like incredible ROI for people who are coming on the journey with us early? I absolutely believe we can.
Mm.
And so I think the more you kind of snowball it, the like the faster the rocket's gonna take off, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, for sure. I think the importance of having that product as well. I know there's, Caitlin Clark joining the WNBA and Angel Reese, they generated so much viewership in at the college level. And then when they got to the WNBA, they were, good, not great, but it's because the great players are Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson, and the list goes on. And I think what we saw so much this year in the WNBA is how important it was to have such a strong product because Brianna Stewart was doing a media run, I feel like maybe 2 years ago, saying that players needed charter flights because how do you expect us to play a basketball game? Um, we need that for the product. If especially in the States, we're taking these huge flights all across the country. Um, and yeah, I think that more eyes got onto the WNBA this season, but from this season to last season, the quality of the league was incredible both seasons. It's just, yeah, people are just seeing it now. People are recognizing it now. And that's, yeah, I feel like, yeah,
Although there
there's
was
so,
significant investment too in like moving games and playing in bigger venues and
mm,
making it more accessible. I think, one of the things that changed between last year and this year with the WNBA was like people outside of the basketball community talking about it.
mm,
And I think that really matters, right? Like when you
yeah,
have mainstream media talking about it, when you're in the office and you overhear someone talking about something, like you inherently want to learn about it or be involved. And I think that can't be underestimated.
yeah, definitely. Do you follow the footy at all?
I do not. I
Okay.
must admit, I am very over indexed on US sports. So like if you
Yeah,
want to talk
yeah.
NFL, I got you. But I have been to a number of Swans games. I like love the vibes, but I can't say that I know the rules or what's happening.
That's fair. That's fair. My team Essendon, when we joined the AFLW, there was a huge push for our first ever game. They had a hashtag which was "Move it to Marvel." I can't remember where it was going to be played originally, but I think that the stadium only held like 3 or 4 thousand, and then they moved it to Marvel, and I think they got 13,000 or something or 12,000. So yeah, yeah, it's the importance of that that push, and it's like, oh, whoop-de-doo, you put more into something, you get more out. Who would have
Yeah.
figured that would have happened? Um, for back to the Flames for a second, how do you feel like this team is going in year two under Guy?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we were very excited to have one of the, most consistent rosters from year to year, probably in our free agency. I think we were supposed to have four returning starters. And then, Didi had season-ending injury, which was such a blow. And
Mm,
then, Law's, really exciting reason not to play in the league. But, obviously you don't replace a runner-up MVP and a defensive player of the
mm,
year, a few weeks before preseason. And so I think we went from having a very consistent roster to being very young and having to kind of invest in growing up some players, right? Like we mentioned Carla Pittman before. She went from being a DP last year to she started in our game last night, which is incredible, and she has played incredible, and she has grown immensely. But the context of her coming in to fill a spot that Loz Nicholson was playing in last
mm,
year is just, she's incredible, but she, hasn't been in the league as long as Loz. So I think Guy is very composed and very realizes the youth in this team. I think the other person who it can't go without mentioning is Kayla. Like the amount of time and energy and her, bringing in all of her teammates. I know that she jokes and says that she's 30 years older than all of them and like she feels old, but like she has gone out of her way, and I've seen it and I've heard it to really bring up some of these young players, and I think for them they all value that so much. I know Swaney has talked about it at length, like the amount of mentorship that she gets from Kayla, and obviously she has ambitions to have a career that Kayla's had, and I think
mm,
Kayla has really embraced that role this season, and that has been a huge shift. I think even in our game on the weekend against Geelong, where there's a moment of like frenzy and they'd come back on a run, and Kayla would just calm down guys, and Guy is great at that, on the bench, but you need that player on the court that's going
mm.
to do that, and she is very much kind of the extension of Guy on the court, which I think is really incredible to see.
Yeah, and was that the game she hit the huge three at the end as Geelong were rallying, and that kind of just got
Yeah,
you that little breathing room?
absolutely.
She hit
Yes.
one like that against, I think it was Nigeria in the Olympic qualifiers. It was the same deal. It was like, oh no, my Nigeria might actually. Oh wait, no, Olympic, no, Brazil. Sorry,
Belgium?
Brazil.
Brazil, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
this is in the qualifiers. Oh,
Yeah.
against Belgium. I got
Yeah.
this one.
I know you're
But
sure. I was like, she went off in that game, but
man, Julie Van Loo at the start of the fourth and the end of the third, I was so scared that she was just gonna win the game for Belgium.
yeah,
She was, yeah, I was so expecting Messerman to just like pick us apart, but then Van Loo was just like, no, give me the ball, get out of the way, give me the ball, get out of the way.
yeah,
But yeah, the collective effort was good there. But yeah, I think yeah, Kayla really hit an important three against Brazil, in that Olympic qualifying game. But yeah, we really could have lost that game. But she's just got that, she's just got that like, oh, we need a bucket. I don't care if I'm 0 for 8. This is the one I'm gonna hit. And she's just a
think
star.
the other part of her on like in those moments are stops as well. Like, yes, I
Mm,
think it's easy to point to the offense, but her
yeah.
composure on the defensive end in those moments as well, like just, testament to her.
Definitely. And, composure on the defensive end to a player that, doesn't mind burning a foul earlier in the game if she feels like her team isn't being physical enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she's just such a star. I've got an episode with her in 9 days' time. I can't wait. It's just, yeah, so good to talk to her. Um, uh, and yeah, it was interesting to talk to her about. I spoke with her last season about her role with the Las Vegas Aces because she is this huge personality and this great leader. And she was talking about how, like, what she needed to bring to the Las Vegas Aces. And it was, kind of a redefining of a role, and still being, such a galvanizing force and being a great teammate. And, I feel like you got to shout out Pearl with all of this as well,
Oh,
which with
absolutely.
yeah, with wherever Kayla goes. But then, yeah, she ends up getting to have this incredible game in game four of the WNBA finals and as a starter close out a championship. Um, I can't even remember what my question was for that one, but here we are.
No,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, I am a big fan of Kayla, and one of my favorite things too is just, like there are so many people like that who just you start talking about Kayla and you're just like it's incredible what she has done, and then the person and the,
mm,
like humility around her, you're just like it's just like the two things you're like how, but
yeah.
I feel you, and like the teammate, like again, I like I said, her bringing along these 19-20 year olds under her, like I'm sure for some veterans, like that is not what they want to be doing at that point in time in their career, but she just like does it without even thinking. Like she's always trying to like help her team be better and do the
Mm,
things that they need, whether it's, on the court, a calming presence, whether it's to your point, like making them play more physical. Like she is very aware of what she needs to do to add value on the court.
yeah. Dropping 28 and 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
so looking at the top of the league, especially Bendigo and Perth, strong starts of the seasons. First of all, just what's impressed you most about those two teams?
Yeah, I think with Bendigo, I mean, you look at their roster and you knew they were always going to be good, but considering how many new players they have playing together, the fact that they've like come out of the gate this gelled and playing together this well this early, I guess that was very surprising to me. But I mean, kudos to them, and they were a well-coached team with some really strong veteran leaders. Obviously, Sammy is having an incredible season. She had a triple double last week. Like
Mm,
she's just flying, and Tolo looks like she has been playing in the WNBL for the last 5 years, even though she had a break and was playing in Europe. So
mm,
for me, that's probably the most impressive, although I guess the pieces of their team have played together in various opals and other camps, but yeah, even their ability to close out games that you thought they might slip up, like they've just got that composure to close a game out. And I
mm.
think Perth too, right? Like, adding Allie Wilson, they, didn't have Amy for the first few rounds. Like, they've just been able to win games, and different people have stepped up. Mila Soa is, I always call her Mila Goodchild. I,
Yeah.
apologize. But she has been incredible. I think her
Mm,
growth from last year to this year, has just, really given them that kind of player that's going to show up every night, even if there's an injury to one of their kind of other stars. So yeah, I think the two of them are looking really strong at the first third of the season or wherever we're at now.
mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're so right. So I was so ready to just step into that role as soon as anyone goes down. And I found it interesting with Bendigo. They've kind of moved away from more of a balanced approach and they're shooting more threes this year. And I'm also surprised that Abby Wayrung isn't one of the like well, she is one of the like four most high volume 3-point shooters on the team, but she's like way behind in volume on is it Samuels and Whitcomb. And Tolo is just the most perfect center to put on a team that wants to shoot. Like she just wants to do everything that complements that. Um, but
And
yeah,
even
they've
Veronica Burton, I mean,
yeah,
they
true.
like the import game of first time imports in a league, like you
Mm.
never really know. And she looks like she's been playing in this league for a long time. Like she picks people apart and just adds incredible energy to them.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and yeah, from Sydney's perspective, what do you feel like is needed through the next maybe let's say the next third of the season to detach themselves from the peloton and yeah make their way into that more comfortably into the top four.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing for us is we have quite a few home games coming up. I think we've been on the road a little bit. I think I mentioned before too, adding Talia, I think will
Mm,
add a lot of composure. There are points in time where it just seems hard for us to get the ball over the half court because
mm,
we don't have a natural point guard. We brought Celeste Taylor, and she's incredible on the defensive end, but I think that we thought that she was more of a pure point guard, and Guy likes playing her more at the two. And so, her and Swaney have taken turns being point, but like neither of them are natural kind of Guy Malloy point guards. He loves that kind of, test imagine, right? Like he loves that playmaking, bring the ball up, get everyone set up. And I think the two of them are so much better off the ball. And so I'm excited to have Talia kind of drive that. I think, there are even points in time where Kayla's been that playmaker, and, she's an incredible passer, and she has that composure that we were talking about. But I think that will make a really big difference for us, especially because, we are such a young team. I think, even Izza, she's had an incredible season, and I think on the defensive end, she is just like probably one of the toughest people you would see, right? Like, especially for her size, like she is not afraid to go after it. I think even in the game last night, like her and Alicia Froling were going at it, and you're like, you're so much undersized, but she's not afraid to take a charge. And so I think for us, our defense is gelling. It's just, we have games where we've scored over 100, and then, the game last night we just struggled to score. And so I think we just need a little bit more consistency on the offensive end.
Yeah, for sure. It's so awesome when you can get a great scorer or more of an off-ball player off the ball, just the difference it makes. Like when players can make themselves more deadly off the ball than on the ball, it's so important. And it's such a good skill to have for the rest of the team. How do you feel the team has gone in absorbing the absences of Michaela Roof and Emma Clark over the last few games?
Yeah, I mean, we've been small, I think, would be my biggest takeaway. And I think against Geelong, Maya matches up really well against Geelong, and she had a really big game, which is exciting. But again, I thought last night we definitely missed Michaela and Emma, both for their offensive abilities, as well as just like the ability to switch and play bigger. Carla Pittman came into the starting lineup, which again, she was playing out of position and undersized, and testament to her. And I said she is a workhorse. She will not stop moving the entire time she's on the court, but she's not going to grow 6 inches overnight. So again, she was matched up against Alicia. There were times she was matched up against Lauren Cox. Like she doesn't back down from a fight, but I think we really missed Michaela and Emma last night. This weekend we have Adelaide, who again, their inside presence and Brianna Turner and how we play against them. Hopefully we'll have Emma and or Michaela back. I think just circumstance and timing of losing your two kind of starting four 3-4s that like play the same position and have the ability to knock down the outside shot and switch on things. It's just, the unfortunate realities of sport, right? Like you don't get to plan injuries, and you don't get to plan the depth chart of who goes down when. So I think, adding them back in, either one or both of them, from this weekend will make a really big difference.
Yeah, for sure. On the, more positive side of that, if there is one, what opportunities do you feel like that's created for the rest of the team?
Yeah,
Their absences.
absolutely. Like I said, Carla Pittman has stepped up massively. I thought Bonnie played incredibly well last night. Again, talk about young talent. She's 17, and she came in when I think it was in the third quarter, we were down, and she hit 2 or 3 threes in a row, and it's just like, okay, like we can play. And again, giving opportunities to some of those younger players, even just giving our DPs the opportunity to go on a 2-game road trip and be around the team. And I think that's one of the things that I really think will just help them grow as players as well. So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely next man up mentality when an injury happens. And I think athletes are so resilient in that mindset and put their hands up to play out of position and to really step up. but, obviously everyone wants a fully healthy side as well. So, the good news is that, there's still a long way left in the season, and hopefully we can, continue the momentum that we had prior to the game last night and keep going, which I think is really great.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you forget, or at least I feel like I forget how much players just want to play. Like there's still that that I don't know. I feel like you get that when you're a kid, when you like starting to play a sport, and you're just like, I don't care what's going on. I just want to get that ball. Like I just want to have it in my hands and do something
Yeah.
with it. Um, and yeah, they're just such insane competitors. Like they'll do anything. They don't think anyone's better than them.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
and it's just
Watching
all
them go at each other at practice, you're just like,
yeah.
like it's just a Tuesday and they're just like out there like playing like it's the finals, and you're like, okay, like let's not kill each other at practice. But yeah, you're right, the unrelenting competitiveness, and that's how they get to where they are. That's
Yeah,
why they're
yeah,
professional athletes. That's why they're some of the best players in the world, is because of that unrelenting competitiveness.
yeah, for sure. I feel like from your perspective, like guys, your co-workers, you're on the same team. Um,
Absolutely. But
uh,
but they are, to their testament, able to flip that switch. And
mm,
I think even, against other teams, I think you mentioned Maddie Rachi. Keely Froling is famous for white line fever, I think it's called.
mm.
Where, you see her on the court and you're like, oh my God, she must be like the meanest person alive. And then you like 30 seconds later talk to her and she is just the nicest person ever. And you're like,
Yeah.
I would not want to cop a Keely Froling elbow during a game, but
Mm.
like, I would absolutely love to get a coffee with her after the game. Like, so I think that they, are really good at balancing that, and maintaining friendships, even though they're competing for 40 minutes a night.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to like the league wide view, and yeah, over the next month or so, what do you feel like your eyes are on over the next month for the whole WNBL?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so competitive. You kind of touched upon it, like what do teams need to do to break out of that pack? I think, the past 2 seasons, last year we had a heartbreak where we, were tied to not make the playoffs. And so, every game does start to matter, and point
Mm,
differentials do start to matter, and even just head to head season records start to matter, because, in the WNBL, there's 8 teams and 4 of them make the playoffs, and it's just so competitive to get there. The Flames have not been in the playoffs for a very long time, and we are very much working and have the view that we have the team to get there and make some noise in the playoffs. But again, it's not guaranteed, and I think other than Bendigo, who are pretty solid in front. I think the next, 7 teams are competing for 3 spots, and
mm.
and it'll start to get pretty tightly contested, I think, over the next, few rounds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember that fourth place tiebreaker last year was it 11-9 or 11-10, and however many teams, 4 teams were on it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, that depth has just been there for the WNBL. Um, what strengths do you feel like the league has had historically? And then yeah, what do you feel like's been developing over the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the playing talent. I think the other thing this league has is coaching talent. There are some incredible coaches in this league. Both on the national team pathways, as well as just, coaches like that players want to play for, and that grow. So I'm super excited about that side of the um, league as well. I think the pathways and different teams have different pathway programs. I think for the Flames, we ran our Future Flames program for the first time this off season, and again, Caitlin, Carla, and Piper were all part of that program, and to see the 3 of them, move into DP and a roster spot with the team, I think continuing to build those pathways and elevate and create linkages, both within the local basketball communities, but also just making it like achievable, and, oh, this is what I need to do to get there, I
Mm,
think is really important. Um, but yeah, I mean the growth of the league, and I think too, right? Like the competition for talent in women's sports is increasing, right? I think we saw um, again, not going to remember the footy team, but they drafted they drafted Lavina out of Bendigo, right? Like
Ah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a war for talent that is now happening, especially from the 15 to 19-year-old range
Mm,
between basketball and AFL and NRLW and netball. Like it's just getting more and more competitive, and so our ability to create linkages through the pathway programs and pipeline and want people to play basketball, I think is really important. Selfishly, we're the only sport that other than soccer that you can play in the Olympics and play on a global stage. And so continuing to showcase the pathways to, the WNBA and the Olympics and those things, I think are also really important. But yeah, again, as you see the other leagues around us grow, we have to grow, and we have to grow at a faster rate to kind of keep our place as, the oldest running women's sporting league in this country.
for sure. Victoria, I think that was before we recorded, I said we should go for 20 good ones. I think we got 47 good ones just
Oh my
then.
God.
Um, uh, Good luck with everything. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Um, and yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. I guess I underappreciated how much I could talk about women's basketball. I think I told you I probably had 20 minutes worth of brain power, but this is certainly something I could talk about for hours.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.